fans, welcome into Canada's home for talking hoops, the Hangout, the top show you should be watching if you like the game of ballon panier. That's basketball in French for you out there. We have a super special cast of friends on the couch. I know I say that every week, but I really mean it. First off, I got to introduce my man Dan Gladden, who produces the Raptors broadcast. You know him, you love him from his great work. Another great win for the Raptors. We'll get to that later, though.
Perfect.
Charles Kissy. If you don't know Charles Kissy is the head coach of the Brock University men's basketball team. Go you Badgers. But he's also last year's coaching mentoree. Dwayne Casey has a program that he mentors coaches. Charles, what was the big takeaway from your time spent with Coach Casey last year?
Things take time. You got to put in the work. You got to stay consistent. It's obviously paying off for the Raptors right now. It will certainly pay off for our Badgers in the future. And that was, I think, the biggest thing we took away.
Shouts out and congratulations to our head coach, Dwayne Casey. 100 wins as a Toronto Raptors head coach, third all time. Big props to you. Got mad love for him. Speaking of someone we all have to have mad love for, you don't know the power that is being held in the seat right now. If you like high school basketball, you know about CIA Bounce, one of the most respected, one of the most powerful programs establishing the pipeline from up north to down south. This, my friend, is Tony McIntyre, former coach of Andrew Wiggins at the AAU level and the father of Tyler Ennis. How special was this NCAA tournament for you, watching one of your former players who's highly regarded as the number one possible pick, but then your son play out of his mind and lead one of the most storied franchises in college basketball, to a second-round exit, but a great game?
I mean, it was great. It's everything that we set out to start our program for, and to be able to sit there and just turn on the TV in every single game we got guys playing. It's just phenomenal. I mean, it's something special for Canada, for everyone that's been a part of it, that's helped produce these players from a young age all the way up.
All right, we're going to talk about your son and his prospects for the NBA a little bit later in the show, but now it's time for us to go big game hunting. Nets versus Knicks. I have to send an apology to Gotham City because on the Hangout, Dan, you know this, we gave New York a hard time. We're going to check the footage, big game hunting. The New York Knickerbockers, Mr. Hardaway feeling it. Here's the takeaway for me from this game is the Nets take out the Brooklyn Nets and lock down the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference for at least one day. Coach, the body language on the Knicks, it looks like things have turned.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they look hungry. They understand the importance of it. And, I mean, guys were just involved, and they were all supporting each other the entire game.
Iman Shumpert there getting sexy with the behind the back. You see Amari Stoudemire getting involved, feeding Carmelo Anthony. And again, I'm talking about the body language, coach. You see Prigioni, you see Hardaway. They're getting up together. This is a team that's now gone on the record, according to Tyson Chandler, said they're going to give somebody problems in the playoffs. Are you buying into this Knicks program?
You got to hope so. It's playoff time, so they don't really have much of a choice, but confidence is a huge thing that you're seeing with the Knicks right now. They're playing with a lot of confidence. Their guys are making shots, making plays. It looks like they're having fun again. I think there was a stretch where the Knicks were not having fun.
It's hard to lose in New York. It's extremely hard to lose.
It's a tough place to play, I would imagine, as an athlete in any sport. But the Knicks are, they have such a great history, right? So it's even tougher for them. So
Dan, looking at this roster, you think?
Well, you look at the roster of the Knicks, there's a lot of talent there, and for whatever reason there were issues there, they were there. Once Phil Jackson kind of got named, I think a lot of people started worrying about their jobs. And on the flip side of that, too, the Atlanta Hawks have kind of gone into the tank. And
yes.
The Knicks saw, you know what, there's a possibility here. We could still get to the playoffs. If I'm the Knicks, I'm kind of hoping for an Indiana first round. I think they could give Indiana a problem in the first round.
All right.
Not Miami, though.
No
one's giving them a problem.
I don't see that happening. Shouts out to the Knicks, though. They were 11th in the Eastern Conference just 4 weeks ago. Quickly before we move on to the Clippers, I want to touch on Jason Kidd. I owe him an apology. I'm sorry, Jason. I didn't think you were this good of a coach. Is this the coaching kicking in because he's lost, a tremendous amount of players, but they're storming back, Coach?
Yeah, I think it takes time. New coach, just came out of the league himself.
How was your first year?
I was learning, and his learning curve's got to be, huge. I think, the guys have finally bought into the systems that he's trying to put in, and they no longer look at him as a player. They're, that's a coach, and he's going to war for them.
Charles, you're a first-year coach out there at Brock. How difficult is it to get a group of young men to kind of buy into a philosophy from a guy just walking in telling them this is how we got to do things?
Yeah, it's tough. I think you have a vision and you have to find a way to make sure everybody gets on the same page, and that takes time. So as that's going on, your games are being played and practices, and you may be losing games. You're not always getting the results that you want. So I think it's tough. I think Jason Kidd's done a good job. I think it helps that he has some veteran leadership there. That's huge for their.
That locker room's old as
as
old as any.
But at first, it looked like they weren't taking it. I'm Paul Pierce. I'm Joe Johnson. Jason Kidd. I've been kicking your butt
That's
for
right.
years. And all of a sudden now they're kind of taking orders from him. And there was a time in the season where it looked like they had quit on Jason Kidd. And then all of a sudden that veteran savvy and that intelligence kicked in. And now they look like where they were supposed to be and one of the top teams in the East.
Huge props to Jason Kidd simply for the fact that, the situation with Lawrence Frank at the beginning of the year. He said Lawrence Frank was doing way too much teaching. These guys are veterans. They know how to do their job. And that's kind of where the whole Lawrence Frank situation came from. But he stuck to his guns. He knew these guys didn't need the X's and O's. They're veteran players and they know what to do. So they let them do their thing. We're not going to be able to get to the Clippers and Suns in the first block, but we will break that down later when we talk about the Western Conference A spot. But we've got a lot more to talk about here on the Hangout. We got to talk about your son, man. We got to talk about all the other Canadians that have chances in the second round. So stay tuned. This is Canada's home for basketball, the Hangout.